There you go. Hello there, rabbit, rabbit. So I always like to encourage the first few moments of practice for you to just come here and be in the present moment as you are, wherever you are, with whatever sounds and feelings and noises you have around you. If you have a meditation practice, do whatever meditation practice you like being, or like doing, sorry. Being or doing, actually both are very valid words to describe meditation. And we're just going to sit for 5 minutes just being in the present without necessarily needing to do anything. So just be where you are, breathe, feel, hear, and I'll talk to you again in 5 minutes. Okay, so I want to start by recapitulating a little meditation teaching I was doing before I started recording today, talking with my partner here. And I wrote something about this in the meditation group as well, but very often when I talk to people about meditation, they will describe any time in their life that they are in a flow state as meditation. Flow state is also a term people use a lot nowadays. So I'm going to describe that as anything you love doing where you're having moment-to-moment awareness. So one of my partners many years ago, he would sew all day. He was making clothes and he was in a flow state. He would say, this is a meditation to me because I'm in the moment and like everything is happening. And my partner, like, he loves cooking, so he gets into that when he's cooking or gardening or riding a motorcycle. You know, you're right there with reality as it's happening, fully embodied, fully aware, fully present. And although it's beautiful, it's not meditation. I think that on a base level, that's just life. That's living. That's like what we should aiming goals, that's what we want to be living like all the time. We want to be in the moment and feel good and enjoy what we're doing and be present with that. We don't want to be waiting for it to be over. We don't want to be neurotic about all the things that could go wrong that aren't happening. We don't want to be thinking of the future or stuck in the past or avoiding, but that's the way we spend most of our lives. Most of us will spend most of our lives being like, I have to do this job and I hate this job and I can't wait till it's over. I can't wait for the weekend, or whatever it is. There's countless examples. So if you're somebody who says that often, like, oh yeah, when I'm gardening, it's my meditation, remember that that's the happy moments of life, that when you are fully aware and fully present. And meditation is more of a practice for us to be able to bring that kind of feeling to every moment of life. All of us who have been alive for a while notice that there's a lot of things in life that we don't want to be present to, things that are very unpleasant and cause us usually to just flip into delusion or avoidance, meaning if you're doom scrolling, right? There's a part of you that's just being like hardening your heart and hating people that are ruining your life, right? That's kind of what doom scrolling is, right? Your heart gets excited and angry and hard, and there's a certain type of getting high off of that, of validating like life is so horrible, which we all have a feeling of, right? Life is beautiful and life is horrible, and there's tons of evidence for both of those things. And so sometimes when we get stuck on one of them, that becomes reality. But a lot of the times, if we're just playing a game, or and I'm not going to say that spacing out is bad for us. I think we all need to tune out sometimes. I think being present all the time, if you've ever tried to go to a meditation retreat, I have, trying to be present all the time is fucking exhausting and terrifying. There's just so many difficult things in reality. So it is not a fault, should not be considered a fault for any of us to tune out and space out and go into delusion, whatever your version of that is. However, meditation is something that when reality is hell, when it becomes something you don't want to be experiencing, but you would rather be present as opposed to blacking out, blanking out, distracting, avoiding, meditation is a whole bunch of skills. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this, is I have a whole bunch of skills that sometimes help and sometimes don't. And that's always one of the things I like to present up front, is that just because you're really good at meditating for 20 minutes or an hour, in whatever way you like meditating, and again, if you find that you try to meditate every day, you will notice that sometimes meditation is bliss. It's this pleasant, relaxing, beautiful experience, and sometimes it's just hell. It's just trying and failing over and over and over to watch your breath or stick to the mantra or count, whatever your thing is. Sometimes you can't. And even trying and failing is meditation. Spending the time practicing how to be okay with reality as it really is. And sometimes it's rainy and sometimes it's sunny. Sometimes you love the sun and sometimes it's burning you and you want to get out of it. Sometimes you need the rain and sometimes it's raining on your parade. So sometimes both are true with this recent Thanksgiving Day parade in New York. I thought that was funny that it hadn't rained for like 6 weeks or something, and then the day that we get this much needed rain, putting out the fires in the parks and stuff, it's the parade. It's raining on the parade. So meditation is something we practice whenever we think to do it, and that can be 20 minutes twice a day, it can be 5 minutes a day, it can be 3 hours a day. It can also just be moment-to-moment awareness as you're moving through life and you're like, yes, okay, I can be like this, I can be at peace, I can relax, whatever. That can be a type of meditation. But it's something we do to practice for all the times where we find ourselves being unskillful, unhappy, and want to blank out, want to avoid, want to distract. One of the terms they use a lot in Insight Meditation Society is skillful means, meaning that if you understand ways you can be with reality, it doesn't mean that there's some mind state you're trying to stick to. But if you find yourself in hell, that is to say something unpleasant is happening and then you're upset about it, and then it's like this echo chamber of unhappiness because you're like, I don't want it to be like this and this is the way it is and I don't want it to be like this, and then that's not fun. It's not a good way to be. It's not a pleasant way to exist. It's not a pleasant way to be alive. So having a whole toolbox of skills gives you something to do rather than be in hell, and sometimes it can get you out of hell. You can be in a horrible situation and not feel horrible about it. You can be in pain and just be like, oh, this is just the reality of this situation, this emotional pain, physical pain. And sometimes you can have all the skills in the world, they don't work. So it's just like when you practice. And sometimes when you're meditating, one of the things I always like to, one of the phrases that I often use is, this is painful, this is unpleasant, can I be okay with that? And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you can't be okay with it. And then you ask yourself, well, can I be okay with not being okay with it? And you find some layer that you can be present to, stay present to, when all you really want to do is get the fuck out of there and disappear. Okay, so today's skill that I want to teach is Mudra, mantra, and finger counting. I find this really useful, and I talked about it last week as an option for mantras. Again, mantra is not my main practice now. However, it has been very useful to me at various times in my life, and after teaching last week's mantra class, I used it a lot for several days, and I hadn't used it a lot, in a long time. One of the stories that people may have read on Facebook, if you followed me for a long time, was 10 years ago I walked across Spain and I forbid myself from listening to music. And a few days into the walk, had a fight with one of my friends. And he was my best friend. And so I'm walking, I'm not listening to music, and I'm angry. I'm repeating in my head constantly why I was angry with this friend and what he did wrong and what I did wrong. And that was not pleasant, and there was no way out of it. I was just walking for 8 hours a day and couldn't listen to music. And I could talk with people, but as soon as I was silent, my head was filled with this anger and the repeating of the anger, which amplified it. So I switched to mantras. I started filling my head with mantras. And I had a handful of mantras because the first meditation formally that I was ever taught how to do was Transcendental Meditation, or TM, which David Lynch famously does and the Beatles did. So it's been a big thing in pop culture, and it's basically about using a simple mantra. Usually they start by giving you what's called a seed mantra, a bij mantra, that you say in your head, and you can say it out loud, but mostly in TM it's done internally, and you let it go at whatever speed, whatever. You don't need to worry about if you're saying the word right or wrong. You let the word transform and morph in your head. You just try to stay with the word. Whatever the intrinsic power of the word is, if you believe in the power of logos, right? That if a word has an intrinsic power attached to it, And if you don't believe that, you're just filling your head with something that's not. You can be aversive about meditation. You can fill your head with something that's not painful, not frustrating, not filling you with anger. That isn't probably the best use of mantra, but that's fine. It's a very useful, skillful thing. It's better to fill your head with some nonsense sound, even if you don't know what it means or you don't believe it has an intrinsic power, than to repeat stories in your head about fear and anger. When I was taught TM, I did it 20 minutes twice a day. That was their prescription. And I had amazing mental transformations, and I don't know if hallucinations are the right terms, but I would have visuals while meditating, while doing this 20 minutes twice a day. And I taught it. You're not supposed to give the mantra to other people, but I taught the mantra to other people, and they had amazing experiences as well during the sit. But what was also more amazing for me was in myself doing the meditation, I wasn't noticing how it was changing me because I'm with myself all the time to the best of my ability. But when I gave the mantra to other people and I saw what it did to them, I was really impressed because a lot of their psyche would change. Like I had a friend who was that I gave the mantra to who was such a neurotic mess. He was heartbroken. His partner had left him. He had to get electroshock therapy because he worked at I love telling these stories. He got electroshock therapy because he worked at a mental hospital and he tried to kill himself. And they were like, if you want to come back to work, you either have to check yourself in or get electroshock therapy. And he's like, if I check myself, well, I'm never going to get out. We all kind of believe we're crazy sometimes. And when he started doing the mantra, he went from being like a depressed, television watching kind of alcoholic to meditating for hours a day, talking with spirits on all the spirit realms. Like it woke up this latent psychic ability that he kind of knew he had, but had spent his whole life avoiding. And all of a sudden it was safe and it was fun, and he was talking to spirit guides, and I was like jealous because I wasn't having those kind of experiences. But this is a great story as far as if you practice, even if you don't know what it's doing to you, it's having a powerful effect on you. I talked about the 20 minutes twice a day, which is a nice prescription. Doing it for an hour is also great. Doing it for 3 hours is also great. Doing it for 5 minutes is fine. When I was walking on the Camino, I would do it via finger counting because I wasn't setting timers. I didn't have a clock. I was walking and meditating, which is also a great way to do it. I used my TM mantra, but I also used a handful of Tibetan Buddhist mantras that are attached to bodhisattvas, and the concept there is that those energy forms of beings will bring compassion. The people that I was working with, bringing compassion and intelligence and mental health. So I was working with Avalokiteshvara, Green Tara, and Manjushri. That's where I learned the Manjushri mantra on the walk because I'd always been interested in him, and I looked up the mantra online. And I also looked up the mantra for the Hindu version of Mercury. So in Hinduism, they're really into astrology. It doesn't matter if you believe in astrology or not, but if you are into astrology right now, we are in Mercury Retrograde. So one of the names that they call the planet Mercury, which they also think of as a god, as a living being that has energy that you can interact with, is Buddhaya. So again, Buddha, we all know because of Buddhism, which is a religion and a history and all these things, but the word the Buddha means awakened, somebody who is fully awake, which means not only in the present moment, but completely understanding everything as it's unfolding. And understanding the structure in which things happen and which they unfold. So Buddhaya is like Mercury in astrology, and kind of like Mercury in the Roman gods, like Hermes in the Greek gods, is an energy of intelligence. And the first mantra that I was given in TM, which was Aim, is a Hindu Sanskrit bij, a seed, that is love, but it's specifically the type of love that an artist or writer would want, an intelligent, creative kind of love. So many of us, when we fall into depression or anger, we hope the world will fall apart or dissipate, and we can't understand why anybody would want to keep living in a horrible world or whatever. But those who create the world see it with love and just want more of it. So this planting of the seed has this beautiful, intelligent love creation energy. Aim. Aim is used in the Buddhaya mantra that is not just used for Mercury retrograde. I use it other times, but I often use it during Mercury retrograde. There are many different mantras associated with Buddhaya, or the Hindu Buddha, or Mercury, sorry, the Hindu Mercury. But the one that I'm going to use today, that I'm going to teach, it's rather short, is, again, it's short. That's the point. I'm teaching you something that's rather short. It has a few words in it. It starts with Om. Everybody knows the word Om. Everybody's heard the word Om, either the spelling O-M or A-U-M, which is, again, more, if you've studied it more, you often start encountering it as 3 syllables instead of 2 syllables. Aum. The second syllable used, or the second sound used in this mantra is boom. Boom, like B-U-M is usually as it's written in English. Om, boom, Om, I'm, boom. Okay, I guess it's the second one was I'm, Om, I'm, boom, Buddhaya, Namaha. There, I'll say it. Om, I'm, boom, Buddhaya, Namaha. So the first word's Om, second word's I'm, third word is boom. Fourth word is Buddhaya. Fifth word is Namaha. In my false friend's ignorant young way of thinking about Namaha, I always thought it meant my name is. But it's more like in honor of. Part of when you're working with a Hindu god or a Tibetan bodhisattva, or any of the bodhisattvas, part of the practice is letting yourself become them, letting them teach you, be present with you, or embody you, depending on how you want to work with them. You can externalize them and picture them as a friend, as a helper, as a lover, or you can say, okay, I'm going to put my ego to the side for a moment and I'm going to become Buddhaya in this state, or Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig. So that's what the goal, that's what the practice is going to be today. We're going to Om, Aim, Boom, Buddhaya, Namaha. And we're going to do it 109 times, which is the thought to be one of the magical numbers that's used in Buddhism all the time, and Hinduism a lot. A lot of times when they make those bead necklaces that we know of as malas, and in Catholic culture, rosaries, it's a way that you count your mantras. You flip it through your fingers as you walk. And a lot of people connect really well with malas and rosaries. I myself prefer finger counting, and that I'm also going to get into because I wanted to teach the fundaments of Mudra. So the other 2 classes I've done before this have been much simpler. Today I'm giving a more in-depth, complicated groundwork to the practices that I do. In Hinduism, in Ayurveda, there's this concept of 144 energy lines going through the body that are called the nadi. They all end in the fingers in different, or they don't end all in the fingers, but they all have connections in the fingers in different ways. These are the same energy things that are called meridians in Chinese medicine and Taoism practices. So they connect to your organs, they connect to your chakras, they connect to your whole energetic system. There are a lot of traditional mudras that you've seen in paintings of Christian saints, of Buddhist bodhisattvas and Hindu gods. So everybody probably knows this one from Jesus. Even the open hand, like this. These are a mudra. This is a peace sign, but that's also used. Oh look, it's creating bubbles, the peace sign, or balloons. The peace sign is used as a mudra in different things. Wow, I'm getting all these responses. I had no idea that were going to happen. everybody has probably seen this, which is used a lot in Italian culture now, but to get away evil spirits, right? The horns. People also use that in rock music, which comes from Italian culture, or that was brought into rock music through Italian culture. Ronnie Dio, and it's also the longhorns. So, but the way that there are stories about all the elements in the hands. We have, if I remember correctly, water, earth, fire, air. Those 4 elements, and the thumb is seen as Akash or ether, which is the space that all those elements exist in. So you've seen, like, even just simple mudras like that. You make this and it helps connect your individual ego. The index finger is thought of as the individual ego, and the thumb is thought of as the universal self, all, everything. So you're connecting the individual ego with the all self. So I'm just giving you a tiny background on the mudras here, because the finger counting we're doing to do these mantras today, beginning of Mercury Retrograde, we use the left hand as a multiplier and the right hand as the individual counter. So if a lot of us raised in this culture were taught how to count to 10 on our 2 hands. And if you're in Europe, they do that differently than we do it in America, right? This is 1 in Europe, whereas this is 1 in America a lot of the time. In India, or in ancient India, I don't know about contemporary India, people count to 12 on 1 hand by using the joints. So starting with the thumb on the pinky, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can count to 12 on 1 hand, and then you multiply it with the other hand. So this is the first. Times 1, it's just 12. Times 2, you start at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. So each of these fingers have 3 joints. So the first 3 fingers count to 109. In some of these practices, they don't use the index finger for counting because it's too much of your ego. But I'm not here to villainize egos, and I often count to 144. But we're going to do 109 today because it's slightly shorter. As far as the mudras and the nadis go, the reason I brought that up is each finger connection connects different energy pathways in the psyche, in the mind, in the heart. They connect different energy things. So as you go through the 144, which I am going to teach later, we're going to do a 144 breath meditation, but that'll be later. Today we're just going to work with the mantra Om Aim Boom Buddhaya Namaha. And I encourage you that if you don't feel like doing this mantra but want to do this practice, you can use any word you like. You can just use Om, you can just use Aim, you can just use Buddha or Buddhaya, or you can say anything. You can say love, you can say happiness, and just repeat it in your head. But we are going to try to do it as opposed to free form, because like if you're doing a mantra meditation in your head, and you're doing Aim, for example, because I've done this thousands of times because I used to practice it for 20 minutes twice a day, it could be like Aim, 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 Aim. It can change all sorts of ways and go fast and slow and different emphasis. Today, we're going to just try to stick to this simple 5-word mantra, counting on our fingers to 109. So I'm going to hold my fingers up so you can see them as I go through. And it's been about a half hour now, so we're at the half-hour point. So we're going to start the mantra meditation of Om Aim Boom Buddhaya Namaha. I am going to do, well, actually, I'm just going to do it out loud. I don't usually do it out loud. You can do it out loud, or you can just do it in your head, or you can even just listen to me. I don't usually do it out loud, but I'm going to do it out loud because I'm doing it for recording here. So, take a moment and center yourself, get comfortable, take a nice few deep breaths. And think of that even if Mercury is, the energy's flowing differently, we want the energies to be on our side. And what I mean by that is we want to learn. Buddhaya is obviously a planet of intelligence. It's an energy of intelligence. a deity of intelligence, communication, wealth. So we want that to be in our favor. We want the money that's flowing to flow with us and through us or to us. We want the intelligence to be present for good understanding, articulation, and communication. And we want to be able to be at peace with the misunderstandings. So those are all things that your heart could gently ask from reality or from Mercury or from Buddhaya. All right, so now I'm going to start and count to 109. Om Aim Bum Buddhaya Namaha. 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 Om Aim Bum Buddhaya Buddhaya Namaha. Om Aim Bum 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 Buddhaya Namaha. Om Aim Om Aim Bum Buddhaya Namaha. 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 So, a couple of things I thought of during that practice. Yes, because you can think while mantraing at the same time. Although the goal is to be fully engaged in the mantra. I guess it's not a thought. Experiences I had, awarenesses I had, and thoughts. One of them is, if you are skilled in working with chakras, the fifth chakra, the throat chakra, Vishuddha, I believe it's called, is also, it also means the center of healing. That the words we speak help transform the world around us, so they can be useful for healing. There are studies that have been coming up recently that I've been seeing, and other people have mentioned to me, that when you chant, you are stimulating the vagus nerve. Which helps relax the body and stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm you down. And it's good for your overall health, relaxes the heart, relaxes the digestion. And when I started chanting, which again, I usually do mantras in my head, so chanting out loud, I got the benefit of the vagus nerve stimulation. I felt my feet vibrating. As the practice went on, I was able to feel my chakras line up. There's chakras are happening inside of an energetic tube called the Sushumna, and I was able to feel the chakras line up and the Sushumna open, and not the whole time, but for a while I was able to feel this integrated sense of the energy flowing through me of the mantra that I was chanting. It's definitely a workout. I haven't chanted that long in a while. It was only 15 minutes. Actually, when I got to 109, it was only about 10 minutes. So I was like, well, I should just do 144. So we get to 15 minutes. The reasons I like doing 144 is it's making all the different finger connections, which I prefer. The number still adds up to 9. 108 adds up to 9. 144 adds up to 9. 9 is considered to be a very auspicious number for all these reasons. And may this practice benefit all beings. So understand that there's a lot of physical benefits you can get from chanting, kirtan, mantra. I also thought while I was chanting that, I should ask my friends who are really into kirtan to do one of these, just because I'm not a kirtan person, but kirtan is chanting mantras or songs that are about love or loving God, or loving aspects of existence. And that's a good way to resonate our energy. Again, when these sounds are coming out of our fifth chakra, be it vocalizing, speaking, singing, chanting, or just in our head, it's helping resonate our energy with these forces that we perceive as good. And I think that's always a good use of time, to take some time to resonate with what we believe to be good. It's a wonderful meditation in and of itself, that if you think of your ideology as good, or you think of animals as good, or nature as good, identify with that. Spend some time just feeling the oneness with what you feel is good, even if it's political or ideological or philosophical or religious. Spend some time just feeling, embodying the good. And that's what the mantras are about, that you take a concept that's good, like love or service or health, and you just resonate with it. So in English, the term affirmations, or daily affirmations, which some people use, don't postpone joy, carpe diem, these kind of things, that if you resonate with them and you keep them in mind, then you're more likely to act with that good energy as an integrated part of your being. So I think that's enough talking and enough chanting and enough concepts for today. This hasn't fully been an hour, but I'm going to sign off now and encourage you to do that in your head, silently yourself, be with whatever mantra you have, if you'd like to, for the next 10 minutes or however long you want to give yourself. And just be with your family and be in a good way. Be with the people you love and enjoy your life today, doing your best to be in the moment. And when you notice you're not in the moment, be kind to yourself and be like, oh, I was just missing some of my life. May you be happy, may you be present, may you be kind and compassionate, may you always know peace. And may this Mercury retrograde be good for all of us. Thank you.